Are you ready to do the deep work? Whether you're looking for a speaker for your next event, private one on one coaching, or you're ready to build your brand as a thought leader, I would love to work with you. Visit terralafangooch.com to book me to speak or inquire about coaching. And to build your thought leadership brand, visit bestbranding.solutions. Let's get to work. Welcome to Grasp Confidence Podcast, where we go beneath the surface into faith, healing, identity, and calling. I'm your host, Tara LaFawn-Gooch, award-winning keynote speaker, 3-time best-selling author, TEDx speaker, and coach. This is not surface-level self-help. This is freedom. Let's dive in. My next guest has spent over 30 years helping high achievers identify their blind spots and decode the hidden patterns beneath their struggles so that they can finally lead, love, and live without losing themselves in the process. She's a doctor, she's an ordained minister, a burnout expert, and the founder of Brave Breakthroughs and the creator of the Signal Method, Kimarie Machinga. Welcome to the podcast today. I am so excited to have you here. You were in the audience at one of my keynotes. It was a luncheon that I did for a ladies' entrepreneurial group in North Carolina. You were in the audience. You and I connected because that's how energy works, right? And then you gave me this amazing testimonial for my speech, and I was so grateful. And I said, you know what? This is the lady I need on my podcast. So I'm glad you agreed to this.
Thank you. I felt the immediate connection too. As soon as we started speaking energy and speaking bigger than what was right in
I
front of
love it.
us,
Well,
I knew
thank you
we
so
were
much
a
for that.
match. So that was exciting
You
for me.
know, we're talking about blind spots and breakthroughs and, these mental blocks. And oftentimes it comes from a place of self-sabotage. It's these underlying patterns that we have. And sometimes it can feel like we're a record on repeat, but we don't even know it, right? We can't see it. And
Oh, yeah.
we can't see our own blind spots. I think that's important. And a lot of people tend to think we can figure all of this out ourselves. We can self help our way to the moon, and it still doesn't click. So I really wanted to have you on today because I want the audience today to experience a breakthrough and to hopefully see a blind spot that they didn't even know they had. And maybe you could help us navigate through that challenge. Have you seen this in your own work with people, these blind spots? And I would love to hear a little bit more about that.
Oh, everywhere. We all have blind spots, right? You and I, we don't outgrow our blind spots. I think that's part of the human experience is that there's a part of us that's whole and perfect and connected in all aspects of the divine. And there's a part of us that can fall into a disconnected place. Um, Typically, when we fall into that disconnected place, we're triggered by something. And what we're triggered by is our pattern. And our pattern is something that we're not even aware is happening, but it's kind of navigating. It's like a belief system that's hidden it's like kind of having tabs up on the computer and they're just draining your energy and you don't know why. And you don't know why the same thing keeps showing up over and again with a different face on it. Right. So those kind of things become a pattern. And when we're in that pattern, we fall into almost the illusion that we're alone, that there's something wrong with us, that we're defective. That is the issue because that is where we get stuck in our blind spot. And that is where we will self-sabotage. Right? So what I do is bring you back to the truth of who you are, get you back into that present moment. Because when we get triggered in that blind spot, we're not in the present moment anymore. We're in either the past or we're worried about the future, right? And what we're doing is we literally recreate it. That's how that pattern happens because we're not present. And when we're not present, we're not guided, we're not divinely guided, we're not connected. We're living in a
Ooh,
narrative that's not even
that is
true
so
about us.
interesting. Yeah, that is so
So
interesting.
think about
I'm thinking
Go
about
ahead.
my husband at the moment. I hope he doesn't no, he will hear this because he produces the audio for this podcast, right? Right, 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 yeah.
He
So,
won't
I
listen while
always
he's
joke with
editing.
him because when we go to the gym together, he gets frustrated because people leave their gym bags all over the floor, their water bottles everywhere, and he's like, "There's lockers. Why aren't people putting it?" It's so funny because I don't even notice it until he says something and then I see it, but he gets a little triggered by it because it really bothers him. Why aren't people not putting away their stuff? I'm in the exact same environment as he is. I'm not triggered by it at all, and I could care less. Is that what you're talking about in this situation?
Perfect. That's an example. That's an example of a trigger. So his trigger is that he likes things in order. He likes things in place. He likes to have some control of some things. And so when we're feeling out of control, when we're feeling like we're powerless in areas of our life, we can want to control things in our external world because that makes us feel more safe, right? So that very thing. But what he's doing is he's looking for the thing. It's like looking for the red car. If you look for the red car, you're going to find the red car. If you're looking for people to leave their bags out, you're literally taking the pattern from the past and you're putting it right into your visual, which is going to recreate it. And so we are very much in control of our pattern once we're aware there is a pattern and that we do have different choices, right? So we wouldn't go to the gym and focus on the fact and look at the 1% that's wrong. We would then take that energy and shift it to the 90% that's, oh, I'm so thankful that I am able to come to the gym today. I'm so thankful that I can walk, that I am strong, that I have water with me, that I have my wife with me, taking the energy and going over here. And then those things start falling from the peripheral. Those things stop
Mm,
hijacking our energy and our
mm.
power. Because from yeah, think about that. It hijacks your day. And then you feel victimized and then you start to self-sabotage. Because once you feel victimized, you feel cheated. And when you feel cheated, you start to eat the ice cream anyway because why not? I'm already a victim. I'm already cheated. And so it is a belief system that we all do. There's not one of us that doesn't self-sabotage at times, that doesn't fall in the pattern. We don't I'm not above it, you're not above it. We know this. We just talked about this, right? We all need coaches. We all need to see what's in our blind spot. The reason for that is when we are so close to a problem,
Mm.
um, and it trips us, then our brain goes from the prefrontal cortex, which is where we problem solve, where we can focus on expansion, it leaves there and it goes back into survival. And when we're in survival, focus gets really narrow. It gets really difficult, right? And so to be able to widen that lens, we have to back up from it. We have to get that aerial view. We have to be able to see the pattern, but it's impossible when we're in fight or flight. So the first thing we have to do is bring ourselves out of fight or flight. And most of
Oh
the time we
gosh,
don't
so
even
true. Oh
realize
my
we're in
gosh.
it.
I've worked
Right?
with clients in the past as well that, they catastrophize and they think of all the worst. And I know this
Yeah.
because I used to be a professional at this, a professional catastrophizer. Oh, I'm gonna get this is gonna happen to me. And then if I sign up for this or if I do this and all of these bad things, a way I guide my clients out of that spiral, really, because it is a spiral, is with gratitude. I guide them out with gratitude, and I have them think of all of the things they do have. So it's really easy to, to think about all the things we don't have. How am I going to pay my bill? How is my house going to get paid? What if my husband gets cancer? What if I get cancer? What if this person dies? It's really easy to catastrophize and spiral when you reflect back in gratitude, though, and you say, "You know what? I do have this. This is working for me. I'm successful in this area. I'm happy here. It really recenters you and refocuses you. And to your point, it brings you back to the present state where your power actually is, not in the past that you can't control or the future that is yet to be, right?
Exactly. I find that there has to be some kind of a pattern interrupt. So typically, what I do in addition to that is I have them take 3 deep diaphragmatic breaths. We get them grounded. And then what that does is it floods the brain with the oxygen and the serotonin and the oxytocin it needs. It gets your brain back into the prefrontal cortex. So it physically brings you, it emotionally brings you, but when we're in the present, we are spiritually centered as well. When
Yeah.
we're in the
Yeah.
past, catastrophizing, or in the future, then we are not even spiritually connected to guidance either, because we're living in that illusion. We're living in something that's not real. Right? So it's bringing you back into the present first, and then gratitude is wonderful. I use it all the time. Another one is leaning in with curiosity, with being inquisitive. So it's having more of a playful mindset versus it's happening to me. It's okay, what am I being shown? Because once I'm shown, it no longer needs to
That's right.
continue showing itself. Right? There's something that I need to see that I am not seeing, but once I see it, then I don't have to continue
Mm.
on this process of this learning curve, right? So being playful with it, being inquisitive, being grateful, like you said, is so important, but not from a place. So some people turn gratitude
That's right.
from, oh, you should be grateful as guilting. And that's not the act of gratitude that you're describing. What you're describing is more of, like we said earlier with the gym, is thinking about the 90 something percent that's already great instead of focusing on the 1 or 2%.
It's a practice, right? It's not something that I think we can instantly understand and turn on. And, to your point, play and curiosity is very important. But if we're in a state of fight or flight or survival all the time, play and curiosity isn't on our radar because we're in that state of fight or flight and survival. So
No, it's
it's really about understanding as well and with love and compassion. And we all do it. I'm in a state of survival right now. I'm not in a state of expansion. How can I, right, bridge this gap and go to that next level, get out of this survival state? And again, I say that with compassion and love because we've all been there. I would be a liar if I said that I was not once, felt like a victim of my circumstances, felt like I was in a survival situation, right? Felt like I was not, in a catastrophizing mental state. We've all done it. But there is a way out and a way through. And
yeah.
you mentioned something about deep breaths. Can we go back to that? Because I think that's really important, but a lot of people don't understand it. We think, I'm breathing every day. What's the deal? Like, how is this a thing, right?
I did it, look. Like, okay, you exhaled a few pants, but you actually
Right.
didn't take any oxygen into your brain. So it's so important. One of the things that I always tell clients that you can do it anywhere, right? The moment you feel what the signal, you talked earlier about the signal process that I've started working on calling it the signal, is that we always get a trigger in our body when we
Ooh,
start to
ooh,
disconnect from the truth of who we
that's
are.
good.
Who we are is whole and perfect already, right? We are whole and perfect already. And there's part of us that knows that. There's part of us that when all cylinders are going, we are unstoppable. We know we're good at what we're good at, and there's nothing to tell us otherwise. And then we could be within the same day,
Mhm.
get tripped up in one of our patterns, and there's a trigger that happens in our body. What I teach clients is to detect that trigger sooner than later. It doesn't mean you failed if you detect it 3 days later, but it's easier as you start to pick up on your pattern, right? But we do get a physical sensation in our body. It is either a tight chest, it's a feeling in our stomach, it's a tight jaw, it's a heaviness. There's anything other than joy, peace, freedom, or
Ooh,
lightness
repeat that
is
one more
usually a
time.
trigger. Anything other than joy, peace, freedom, lightness, which is our natural state, always available to us, you're in a trigger. And the truth is, you can be in joy, peace, freedom, abundance, even when you're being put through a difficult situation. You can still find those things. I'm not trying to say that you have to be superhuman. I'm just saying that there's a belief that's holding you back. There's some belief system that's holding you back. And that's what we want to uncover. And the way to do that is realizing that when your body is speaking through sensations that are not expansive, there's something
Mhm.
that we need to lean into and pay attention to. And the thing that we need to realize is that we're not in the present moment. We've been thrown into our pattern, okay? So we have to get you present. The way to get you present is taking 3 deep diaphragmatic breaths, and that's one thing. But when we breathe,
Can
do
you
you
like,
notice
can you
I'm gonna
like
teach you how to
yes, yes,
actually
yes,
breathe.
yes.
It's okay, yes, let's
Okay.
do this. If you were to just put your hands on your belly, right? And then as you inhale, you wanna fill that belly up like it's a balloon.
Like,
So inhale and fill the
does that
belly
mean
up.
push my stomach out?
Correct. So most people suck in. They suck their belly in and they just tighten their chest. They don't even bring the breath to their belly. But really, we're supposed to fill that belly with air. So just like you're blowing a balloon, imagine your hands are now coming out because you're inhaling, pushing your belly out. Hold it for 4 seconds. And then as you exhale, you're pulling the belly in to your spine. So you're holding that and then inhale again, blowing your belly up. Hold it. Exhale, pull your belly in. And one more like that. Inhale, hold, exhale. And while you're doing that, I want you to keep doing that breathing. So, what I would say to a client is keep doing that breathing. And then you're breathing, and I'm talking you through grounding. Imagine roots growing from the bottom of your feet. Imagine them growing from your tailbone and going down through the floor, through the earth, plugging into the center. As they do that, they start to feel almost like, whoa, like I'm centered. You'll almost feel a little lightheaded because you flooded
Ooh.
your brain with the hormones it needs
Ooh.
problem
Yeah.
solve. So, yes, because what is we go away when we're in stress, when as soon as our body does that thing, we go away from the prefrontal cortex, away from serotonin, oxytocin, and dopamine, and we go to cortisol. Cortisol is the stress hormone, and what it does is limit your vision. So, what I just did was bring you back to your prefrontal cortex, back spiritually centered to the present moment, flood your body with the oxygen, the oxytocin, serotonin, dopamine it needs. And now you can back away from your issue. You're not right on top of it anymore. Now you can back away. You can view it from a different position. Then, if you were to take one of the tools like
Mhm.
gratitude,
That's right.
even if you don't 100% believe it and say, I'm so thankful for my grandson. I'm so grateful that I have my dog. I am so grateful that I'm breathing right now. Then you can find the tool. You're able to grab the tool and use that tool in a way that is going to it's
So,
going to allow you
if
to see it
I'm
differently.
catching myself in a spiral, the best thing to do would
Yes.
be to chill out, go sit somewhere, and do some breathing practices, would you say?
We
True.
don't always have that privilege. We don't always have that ability. So let me give you a because the people that are on this are going to say, "Hey, that's all well and good,
Right.
but what about in the middle of a workday when somebody comes at me? What about in the middle of it?" Okay, let me give you an example of something that I did that is going to sound so crazy and woo, but you have nothing to lose but to try it. The way I look at this is investing our energy. And that is truly what we're doing. We're deciding whether we're going to use fuel that is a high frequency or a lower frequency. The higher frequency is going to attract more high frequency things back to us. The lower frequency is going to attract lower things to us. So, gratitude is a high frequency exercise. By doing that thing, that gratitude, you're at a high vibration and you're plugging into a radio station that's going to attract you to things from that vibration. Another high vibration is love. Love is one of the highest vibration. Compassion is a high
Right.
vibration. Um, Worrying might appear like love, but worrying is one of the lowest vibrations. So if you want to wish someone well, then you would want to see them already in a good place versus worrying about them, right? Two different two different energies. Okay. So, say somebody is just wrongly accused you and took out their bad day on you, and you got this feeling in your body that you feel attacked, and now it's on. Now, what happens is you've moved back into your fight or flight. Cortisol is flooding your brain. You have your narrow vision, and you went back into a pattern of the last time you were wrongly accused, or you go back to that same feeling of the 10 other people that did it before them. And now what we're going to do, what is natural to do would be to react from the past. Okay. How do we interrupt that so we don't continue creating a pattern? We have to send
I
love.
love that.
I know that sounds insane, but let me give you an example. And it works. It immediately works. I had to go for a license for something. And in North Carolina, everything shuts down when it snows, unlike New Jersey. But I had to go on this specific day at this specific time because I had no time in my schedule. I called ahead of time. I knew I have an hour before the snowstorm. I had all my ducks in a row and I get there. And the agency that I went to was very quiet because there was going to be snow that day. So it wasn't like there was a room full of people. And when I got there, I had all my documentation that they told me I needed. One piece that they didn't say was that this specific thing needed to be signed. I said, "I can call them right now. I know that they will do it." And the woman was like, "We can't do that. If we do that for you, we have to do that for everybody," and the whole rigmarole. And I was like, "I understand completely, and there's nobody here. I understand that you can't always bend the rules, but there's nobody here." She didn't like that I questioned her. And I didn't do it rudely, but that's exactly how I did it. But that's ridiculous. I would do what I could do for a client. So she went to the supervisor. The supervisor didn't come objectively. She came with whatever went through that woman's filter, which clearly she had been questioned in the past and it was going to be taken out on me. So the supervisor came at me just yelling, "We can't do this. And you're saying we're not doing our job." I never said any of that. And I finally caught what I was in the middle of, right? All of a sudden it hit me that, so I said, "Why are you yelling?" And then I stopped and realized that, okay, there's something I need to see here. Maybe it's just claiming my power back. Maybe it's just not being a victim of this kind of circumstance. Who knows why we get put things before us? But all of a sudden, I said, okay, she's just playing a role in my awakening. So this is how I turn it into a game. She's just playing a role. She's just building muscle for me. Maybe it's to stand up for myself. Who knows why I've been put here, but I've been put here. And so instead of keeping the heaviness, I took a couple of breaths and I started sending her love and gratitude from a place
Yeah.
of, you know what? She's just playing her role really well. Is So it went from, "Why are you yelling at me?" Took a couple breaths, didn't smile and act like she wasn't yelling at me, but I caught it, started sending her love, and literally she just turned around and went, "You know what? I'm going to do it for you. Oh, and I'm going to do this for you. And by the way, here's my cell number
Yes.
if you
Oh,
need
yes.
anything
There's so
from
much wisdom in that. I had a example similar. I was driving in Charlotte and Charlotte traffic, right? Somebody cut me off totally and then flipped the bird, right? My daughter, of course, in the back seat sees it all, and I'm her example, right? And she's kids watch everything you do. And I said, "Nora, let's start praying for this person." And she said, "Why? He was so mean to you, and he was mean to you for no reason, and then I saw what he stuck his middle finger up at you, and that wasn't it," like, out of the window, like, he went to the trouble of rolling down the window, sticking his whole arm out, sticking his whole
Chasing
arm,
you with his
making sure turning it toward me, so there was no like, he wasn't waving, right?
yes, yes.
Yeah, 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 there was no
There's
mistake.
there's clarity
And
of
she said,
who,
"Why he
right?
did that to you, and doesn't that mean something nasty?" And I said to her, I said, "He is a very important person. He must be very late for something, and I was holding him up." I said, "You know what? Let's pray for him." And she said, "How what do you wanna pray for him about?" I said, "I'm going to pray that he gets has the best day after this. That wherever he's going in his next destination, that it turns out to be the best outcome for him, that he experiences joy and love and peace and all of these things." And she said, "Why? Why would you do that?" And I said, "Because that's that will help him in his journey, right? That will teach him something. And I'm being taught this, and I'm teaching you that we don't need to be reactive, that any little thing that happens to us in life, we don't have to be triggered by it, that the triggering is actually a choice, and our reactions in any circumstance are a choice. And the answer is always love, to your point. It's always sending love to another person, even somebody who is dissing us, who's dismissing us, persecuting us, not being nice to us. We see that online, right? People who leave nasty comments. Yeah,
Well, that's where our power is. Yeah, we become if we don't send love, we become the very
yeah,
thing that we don't like most, right? We become that thing because we start reacting in a way and we use the excuse that they did it first, but
yeah.
you now become that energy. And just to think about the energy of sending love is also where your power is. It's also understanding that we are all connected and that when we send what we send out, gets returned, not necessarily by that person, but we're now in that lower frequency, attracting things from a lower energy and then wondering why it's happening. So we have choices on where we invest our energy. And we don't have to like that person. We don't have to like what they're doing. It's not about that. It's not about making it okay. It's not because some people will say that's enabling, right? They'll start to say, you're enabling bad behavior or you're encouraging bad behavior. No, that's not at all what it's about. It's about realizing that their behavior does not have to
Yes.
rob
Or your
my joy.
confidence. And the answer is always love. Love wins, right? Hate, it's the strongest energy. Yep.
Well, it's the
Yep.
strongest energy, even physically, like, we can physically, test
Mm.
muscle strength, and love is the strongest energy. It's vulnerability, it's not a weakness, and that's what many people think. They can't show themselves, they're not safe, right? But if we understand how to manage this energy, we are
Mm,
at
I
our
love that. And of
strongest.
course, going back into the spirituality aspect of this, God is love. And that's so powerful. It's three
Right.
words: God is love. But when you really think about it, that's the most beautiful and profound presence. When you're in the presence of love, you feel love. Your vessel gets full. Your capacity increases. Your ability to love others increases. Your ability to love yourself increases. It's a very high frequency. It's more than an emotion. It's an embodiment. It's a state. And when we can love not just ourselves but other people as well, I feel like gain that affinity of form with our creator, with God, and become more like God. And that's so powerful. When we can choose this at any point in time, we can choose hate, we can choose violence, we can choose, an outcome that's not favorable to us, and we can catastrophize and get stuck and get in that victim mentality, or we can choose love in all circumstances, right? And I think that is so powerful, so wise. So, love, gratitude, presence, all of these things are so important, aren't they?
Presence, that's why being in the present is where we get God, right? God is not in the past or in the
Mhm.
future because that's not real. You know what I mean? It's an illusion. It's something that we're creating. Our mind is creating. When we are in the, like you
Wow.
said, presence, then we are in the presence and we are connected to our highest self. And some people look at God as religion and can look at it limiting, but God is within each one of us. And we have the ability to connect no matter what
Yeah.
that looks like. We have the ability to connect. And I want people to know that because a lot of people also have s- an aversion sometimes because of an expression that was not an
Mhm.
expression of religion that may not align with them, right? And that doesn't mean that's not God, right? That's a human expression. That's not God's wholeness. God is within each one of us and expresses through
Yeah.
each one of us.
It's not about a religion. A religion
That's
can
right.
confine
That's
you.
right.
A religion can cause you it's a human construct. It's a building. We can, and if we put
That's
our
right.
faith in a
That's right.
building, we don't have anchored faith. In a religion or a human construct is not the same as a relationship. And I think that's really important.
And no is so important. And nobody else is privy. Like, I tell clients, like, whatever I'm telling you, I'm pointing you in the direction of that relationship. And what I if I said something that triggered a feeling that was off, you should question me, just like you should anything, because that is your guidance system, right? So let's have that conversation because I don't know your truth better than you do, but I'm showing you how to connect to that so that you can plug
Mhm.
in anytime. And it's not for me
Yeah.
to define,
Yeah, I
it's
love
for me to
that.
help people connect, really, fine. Your relationship, I would never even consider that idea, but a lot of, like you said,
Mhm.
religions, I hate to say it, do kinda do that, and they turn some people off, and that is not to diss anybody or diss any religion, it's just to say that's what we're describing when we say God. God is within each one of us. So for us to hate someone else or send hate, we're
We're
sending
Well,
hate
that's right,
to
we're created in the
another
image of
God
God,
being.
right? God says that we are created in his image. We're all created in the image of God, and if you look at another human being, if you look at yourself too, I wanna mention that because, again, we talk a lot about self-worth, confidence on the show, self-image. If you look at yourself with hate and disgust, and you look at another human being with hate and disgust, you're looking at a part of God with hate and disgust. And none of us are perfect. There's going to be people who you instantly judge. And here's the kind of trick that I've come up with for myself that works at least. If I find myself, that person, or I'm judging this person, or I don't like this person, you know what I do? I find three things that I can say I love about this person. And I did this just a couple weeks ago. There was a
That's all.
gentleman walked into a restaurant and I found myself instantly judging him. And then I said, "Oh, I'm judging him." I caught myself. And I said, "Okay, what are three things I love about him?" And I immediately saw his like beautiful blue eyes and I was like, "Oh my gosh, his eyes are so pretty. And then I said, "Oh, I actually really like those shoes. Those are cool. That's different." And then I said, "You know what?" He was holding his like somebody's like hand, like it was daughter or son or somebody that he was with. And I said, "Oh, he must be a very caring person." And then I thought to myself, and I was judging this person.
That's fantastic. I love that you did that. I love that. That's a great exercise. I always say catch
Yeah.
yourself, but I love that you catch it and then transform it, right? Because now you've interrupted that pattern and then you've chosen the higher vibration. So you went from that judgment, which is such a low vibration, you caught yourself there, picked yourself back up. And that is our human experience. This whole thing is just a
Mm.
workout reminding us to get present. And the habit is Joe
Yep.
Dispenza has a book called Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself. And the habit of being yourself is judgmental, is limiting, is knocking ourselves down. These are, I call the town idiots. It's like we get the limiting beliefs. I call them the town idiots because I don't want to give, some people say the enemy or Satan or I don't want to give it that much power. When I call it the town idiots, it makes me giggle and it makes me realize that we do have more power. Even though even it something dark can come toward us, we still have power. We get
Mm.
to decide how it's going to affect us. And those habits are well ingrained. They really are because in a day, there are so many times that we're judging people. There's so many times that we're judging ourselves until we start catching it. And then it just becomes a practice
Mm.
and it can even become a game. It can even become playful. And that's where I don't expect people to start off playful about it, but it can get playful. We get to decide that. Even making light of it being the time, whatever it is, right? We can flip it enough, not that we're not taking it seriously. It's not that.
You can decide to have something impact you, or
Yeah.
decide to let it inspire you, decide love, decide gratitude, decide presence, or decide spiral, right? And I think that's so empowering. And that's exactly why we're having this conversation, is to empower people to go to their next level, whatever that looks
That's
like for them, right? So I challenge everybody who's listening to this episode, if you feel triggered, if you're at the gym and there's bags everywhere, like my husband says, right? Or if you're in traffic and somebody flips you off, how can you choose a different reaction from your past, from things that you've done in the past? How can you choose differently based on love, based on gratitude and appreciation for that other human being? And you'll start to interrupt those patterns and start to live a little bit of a different life. It takes time, but we all have these triggers. We all have these reactions. It's not that these reactions will go away permanently, right? It's that when they do pop up, you recognize them and you can transmute them into something more powerful, to something more high vibrational, into a state of love and presence. Kimmery, any last words for our audience today of what they can do to think differently about themselves or their environments, or change their perspective on life?
one thing that came to me was there are people who will say, I already did that. And they'll argue, I already tried that. I promise you didn't. I promise. And I don't mean that disrespectfully, but there is a difference in the energy that we show up in, right? So you can ask a question many different ways and get many different responses based on how we ask that question. So really, it is about lightening up and getting present first, realizing you're in a learning process, right? We're spiritual beings in a human experience. That human experience is to understand contrast. So we are just in it, right? If we get that feeling in our body, lean into it. Lean into it because the more we resist, the more it persists. Okay, so lean into it. If you can lean in, that's where your power is. It's always going to be where your power is. So get present, take a couple of deep breaths, realize that you are whole and perfect just the way you are, right? Just get present. Get present with God, get present with guidance. If that's not your language, just get present. Flood your body, flood your brain with the hormones it needs to back up from the situation. All of this supports you to have a better response because you're not going to be reactive. You can decide
You can
how
decide
you
how
invest
you
your
invest
energy
your
next.
energy next. That is it. That is the truth. I love that. So powerful. Thank you so much for being a guest today. And thank you for everyone who tuned into this episode of Grasp Confidence Podcast, guys. We're on a roll. This is a spiritual program. This is a deep show. This is not surface level self help. We go beyond that. And we're seeking real, lasting transformation, capital T, transformation to impact you and your next level. We will see you on the next episode. Take care. If this episode resonated with you, I have one simple ask. Head over to Apple Podcast and leave a review with your favorite takeaway from today's episode. It takes less than a minute, and it will help this message reach the people who need to hear it the most. If you're ready to build your brand as a thought leader, visit my company's website, bestbranding.solutions, to learn how we can work together. And if you're looking for a speaker for your next event or conference, I would love to bring this message to your audience. Book me at terralafongooch.com. Until next time, stop leading from an open wound and start leading from a healed one. Reach for what God promised before the world told you you weren't enough.